Hey, Tony guys here just popping in. Now, I hope not to be before you long. Some of y'all brought to my attention about the Shannon Sharpe and the Monique interview, and it kind of just lends to what we've been saying about the year 2024 being that year of exposure. Now, one of the things that we all have to be reminded of is that somebody's truth about us would shock the world. Meaning, if somebody told their truth about an experience they had with us, something that we did, something that we said, something we put them through, something, whatever, it would be shocking. And that's the dangerous part about the exposés, is because a lot of times when people are telling their truth about other people, it may open up a can of worms to where somebody gonna come tell they truth about that person. But the thing with it is sometimes people feel guarded because the people who knows our secrets or who have had bad experiences with us may not have a microphone, may not have a platform. So even when I was watching the interview, Shannon said that sometimes they interview somebody and somebody from the family will reach out and say, I want to come on and share my side because my family member lied. And he said he tells them no. And so that's what I mean when people are throwing rocks at giants. The small people who could throw rocks at the people who throwing the rocks, they don't have their story to tell. They can't get on that platform and tell their story. Now, this is very real, but it's a sign and it's a lesson for everybody across the board. If you live in just regular existence, you're not in Hollywood. The lesson from this stuff is be careful how you move. Do not take your grace for granted. You have done things in your life that you are not proud of. All of us have. You have to leave that stuff in the past. You got to turn over a new leaf. You got to move forward and doing things the way you know they should be done. Because if you take your grace for granted, if you don't right your wrongs, somebody gonna get a mouthpiece and they gonna tell their story about you. You got to watch how you move because nothing done in the dark remains in the dark if you take grace for granted. So it's not what's done in the dark, everything don't come to the light. It come to the light when you don't take grace seriously, when you don't repent. Because see, with repentance, God will take and throw it into a sea of forgetfulness. And you will be made whole, you will be made new. And we don't think about that. So this stuff happening now, and this stuff gonna continue to, we're gonna see stuff come out. Another lesson from this interview is that you should have no idols. You should have no idols. Worship no one. Worship no man. Worship no woman. Because everybody got a story to tell. Now, Monique was mentioning Will Packer when she was on the set. And I have met Will Packer. He followed me on Instagram. We both have a suite at the NFL stadium. I went over to his suite, met him in person. Now, what she said about him, I'm not necessarily shocked because I know when you come from humble beginnings and you become a big shot, it can give you an ego. It can give you a little ego. And if you can't tell, even Monique have an ego. And yes, you can still tell based on stuff she say and how she moves, she is difficult to work with. But that's what they call it. They call it difficult when you're not a pushover, when you're not dumb, when you're not gonna let nobody play in your face. They call it difficult. They say I'm difficult to work with in Hollywood. When I did the MTV show, it was some things that I had to say, no, I ain't doing that. No, I ain't doing that. And then she was speaking on how Will Packer and the assistant AD was disrespecting Dave Talbert. Now, a lot of y'all might not know who David Talbert is. It's David E. Talbert. And he was a playwright. He's a playwright like Tyler Perry was in the beginning. But then Dave also wrote movies and direct movies. Now, what some of y'all did not know, you didn't know David E. Talbert, but he was my first Hollywood mentor. So at 24 years old, I wrote my first script to produce into a movie. And I was getting LOIs, which is letters of intent or letters of interest. And I had got an LOI from Kyla Pratt. You know Kyla Pratt from One on One and the Proud Family. And then her co-star on One on One, her name slipping my mind. I got an LOI from her. And I was working on Chris Brown. And I was 24 years old. So this was, can't remember when it was, 2008. 2008. And I went on Facebook and I sent a message to David E. Talbert because I seen his stage play on BET. Fabric of a Man, I think it was called. And at the end of the stage play, I didn't really, I, I didn't understand stage plays. So I didn't really understand the art of it or couldn't fully appreciate it. But the fact that it was on TV, at the end of it, I was like, who in the world did this? Like, who got this on TV? Because this looked very doable. And it was David E. Talbert. And I went on MySpace, found his page, wrote him. And so just how Monique have a certain viewpoint of David Talbert, I have another viewpoint of him. And that's what I mean, how like when you tell your story and you telling a certain story, it's other people with other stories. So there could be a young lady out there that was in the comedy industry or in whatever industry that feel like she was stepped on by Monique. And Monique might not know that. But that young lady may be a virtual assistant today and gave up the dream, and she would never be able to get on Shannon Sharpe's show and tell her story. And so that's the one issue with when we are exposing people. Everybody got a story to tell. Because I got a whole nother different story about David E. Talbert that probably would shock Monique. She probably like, whoa, that ain't a person I know. But it's a whole different side of it. And it ain't necessarily nothing like bad. It's normal. But it was, issues and situations. And that's why I try to tell y'all, I be on here talking like a regular person. Like I be on here talking like I'm not connected in Hollywood. I be on here talking just I'm in the Airbnb in sitting in the bed in Manchester, England, talking. But I know Will Packer personally. I know David E. Talbot personally. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you. I know Ocho Cinco, who Shannon Sharpe co-hosts on, personally. Sat down with him, worked with him, coached him for a whole week. He said that I could say that because he said it on Larry King Live. That after his incident with Evelyn Lozada, he came to my city and Ocho Cinco spent a whole week with me. Said my name, that he worked with me when he went on Larry King interview. But see, I come on here and don't share the whole resume. I know Oprah personally. I went on Oprah when I was 25 years old. Sat with Oprah for 55 minutes being interviewed. Interview never aired again. It was a live airing in light of the Chris Brown and Rihanna situation. So my feel of Oprah is totally different. Like she treated me very nice, was very welcome, very welcoming, very kind, very her spirit, Oprah's spirit for to me felt like a very quiet, shy, insecure eighth grade black girl who have a little more meat on her bones than the other black girls who hair might be a little more coarse, who home may be a little more low income or ran down. And so she come to school and she mind her business. She do her work. People pick on her. They talk about her and they mistreat her. That was Oprah's energy to me. But let these people tell it. They tell a story of like she's a bully. So the lesson in that is we all have many sides. We all got many angles. And I went on Oprah as a former abusive boyfriend, telling the story of being a toxic lover. So she could have actually looked down on me and treated me like crap and like you womanizer, you piece of trash. But she was very, and I remember telling my story for about 5 minutes, and a producer came up to the stage and said, "Okay, Mr. Gaskins, we're gonna take you back to your seat on the front row with your wife." And Oprah reached her hand over and put her hand on my chair and said, "No, leave him here with me." And I was like, "Wow." And then in the commercial break, Oprah leaned over to me and she said, "Hey Tony, what did you mean when you said you've never been affirmed? You had never been affirmed as a man." And you know, affirm is the root word of affirmation. And she didn't know she had never heard that word. She didn't know what that word meant. And so she asked me, and I had just learned it not long ago. And I said, meaning I had never been told who I was and who I could become, and that you're a great black man. You're a powerful black man. Like you could be great. I said I was insecure. And so when we came back from the commercial break, Oprah said, she was like, and just like Tony said, he had never been affirmed. And so she could sense she knew what I did when I was telling the story of being a toxic lover when I was 19 in college. At this time, I was 25 and I was married. And the story I was telling was from an ex-girlfriend who had caught herpes, and I caught her talking to another man, and things got rambunctious in the dorm room. It was no black eyes, no bust lips, no police, no arrest record, no none of that. But you know how toxic relationships get. And so it was like Oprah could feel how it was like she could feel this not a bad person. This not a bad man. Like he told this story as if he's a monster, but I could feel his spirit. He's not a monster. And I could feel he's gonna do great things. And she said that at the end, she said, and Tony has dedicated his life to helping others so that they don't have to go through what he's gone through. When for the ratings and for all of that, she could have painted me to be a monster. So I got a different story of Oprah. And after the show, she took a picture with me, took a picture with my wife, maybe I think. She came to our dressing room before the show or after the show. So I got a totally different experience. And that's what I mean. So all of us have good and bad. And that's why when you hear this stuff, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Even with Cat Williams' interview, I guarantee you it is some people that feel like Cat Williams is the worst person on the face of the planet. Just because of it could be one experience. And the experience could have been taken out of context. And that's how, like, look at the videos I do every single day. If you know me, you hear my videos, you hear my heart. Well, guess what? It's people that say I'm a panderer. It's people that say I'm a grifter. It's people that say I'm a charlatan. It's people that say I'm cheating on my wife, that I am most likely right now cheating on my wife. Like, it's people say all kind of stuff about me, but yet it's people who say, Tony, your message saved my life, or Tony, your message changed my life. And so that's what we have to take with these exposés. And we also have to be a little more careful. And for me, I'm glad I watched the interview because it's teaching me lessons. Because see, me being a life coach is what they call it. I don't like the term. I don't want to be called a life coach, but it's just what they call it when you are someone who listens to people and you ask them questions and you can share some tips, some wisdom, some tools. They call that a life coach. I didn't term it, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. I was doing this, I remember in the 8th grade, walking home ministering to my close friend about Jesus and helping him get his life right. So I've been doing this my whole life, what I'm doing on YouTube. I literally have been doing this my whole life. And I have heard stories about mega celebrities. Like, and I can't speak on all of it. I can't, and I don't even feel comfortable saying the names just because people mind will run and they will think. But when I tell you not just A list, but A plus list, some stories that they will never want to be out, that they will never want to be heard. And me also being a ghostwriter, I have written the book for the family members or ex-lovers of mega celebrities. One of them name was said in Monique and Cat Williams interview. I wrote the book on one of those people they spoke on, one of they former people came to me as a ghostwriter, but the book never came out. I wrote the book. The person was pretty much kind of bought out, so the book never came out. So that's why I try to tell y'all, because a lot of people come on here and they think, oh, Tony channel now turned into a gossip channel. No, I just take real life events and teach lessons from it, because that's what we got to do. You can't just stay stuck in this one thing, talking about this one thing, this one way. I get tired of talking about love and relationships every day. I'm married. March 30th, me and my wife celebrate 17 years of marriage. Y'all think I want to be coming on here talking about dating and single life all the time? No, but I do it because that's what people ask of me. So I address this stuff because people ask of me. I don't even watch this stuff. I don't keep up with this stuff. People send this stuff to me, and then because I realize people value my voice and my thoughts and my opinion on certain things, I will be remiss to not throw my hat in the ring, because it's going to be everybody else speaking on it anyways. Might as well take a different approach and put that in there to bring some balance to it. So the lesson from this here is clean your life up. Clean your life up. Guard your character. Guard your story. Make your amends. Say your sorries. And know that as you telling your stories about people, people gonna have stories to tell about you. And if you lie on somebody, somebody gonna lie on you. That's why the Bible say, judge not so that you be not judged. That's all it's talking about. It's not saying that you can't look at a person and assess them. It's not saying you can't use wisdom and discretion and discernment. It's saying that the measure you measure unto others will be measured back unto you. So anything we do, we got to be able to live by, die by. We got to be able to stand on it. So when I call a name, it's because I'm willing to have my name called. Point blank period. And I'm never against anybody telling their truth. So I respect the fact that, Cat Williams told his truth, that Monique telling her truth, and that everybody tell their truth. And I respect the fact of us holding each other accountable. Because when we get to hear how we made people feel, it'll hold us accountable. And we get to hear that and, oh man, wow, I ain't know I did that. But a lot of people don't realize that everybody got a past, everybody got a story, everybody got a light, everybody got darkness. It's the duality of the human experience. And as far as Monique is concerned, and as far as anybody, when people talking, include myself, you have to take what you hear with a grain of salt. The issue with our world is we take everything as that we hear, we take it as a definite. Like a woman could come out tomorrow and say that she slept with me while I was married, or she could come out and say me and her was in an affair. She could come out and say we've been in an affair for the last 5 years, and 90% of the people is gonna believe it. Now that's an absolute 100% lie, but 90% of the people, they're gonna believe it. Absolute 100% lie, but 90%, it could be a talking dog. Now y'all know how I feel about, I don't play around with none of the gay stuff. Stay over there. God bless you. I don't hate you. I don't dislike you. I dap you up, pray for you, pray with you, but don't try me with that foolishness. It could be a gay man come out tomorrow and say, oh, I've been dealing with Tony Gaskins. 90% of the people believe it. It'll be 100% lie, and that's our fault as humans, is we just believe everything we hear. And so you got to take stuff with a grain of salt. Now, for me, too, I look at a person's character as well. And so when Monique kept saying she prayed to the universe, and she would not say God. And she said she prayed to the universe. Now, she could come back and try to change it. And maybe she's saying universe trying to sound deep or whatever. And I've said universe too, because God is everywhere in everything, but it's God. But I don't call God the universe. And people get real sensitive about that when you say that. But the way she was saying it sounds like she don't necessarily believe in God. Like she believe in it's something out there, but not necessarily God. And so once a person keeps saying the universe, I'm already at that point, because I'm a believer and I'm a Christian. I'm already at that point. I'm just hearing grain of salt, grain of salt, grain of salt. Now, I could believe it. But that's the industry. And it's not even about being slighted. Like when I did the commercial with Ford, they end up paying me 3 times what they offered me just because I negotiated up. So I was paid 3 times what I was offered. But even after being paid that and then being sent on different campaigns, they still came to me at the end and was like, can we get you to sign this paper so that this commercial could not just be digital, but it could be on TV? And I said no. So it's no different than Monique doing a movie and them saying, can you come to the Cannes Film Festival and promote it? Like that really is supposed to be understood. That if you are part of a project, that you're supposed to promote it and you're supposed to be all in. And if you accepted $50,000, that's on you. And so it's like, how you expect to be paid to promote a movie if they could barely pay you to be in the movie? So it's things like that that will turn a molehill into a mountain, and then we'll look at it and be like, oh, Tyler Perry, the worst person in the world, Oprah, the worst person in the world, because of this industry standard stuff, when it's not uncommon with anybody in any industry. Like, it's not uncommon. So that's why I say you got to take stuff with a grain of salt. It's like some things are just kind of understood. Some things are just kind of, whatever. And how she was talking about her past and she felt like a HO and all of that. And then her husband told her she wasn't a HO, she just had friendly P. Damn, I can't really see a man framing it like that. It just that don't make sense to me. Like I used to be a HO. We got to call it what it is. I was a HO. If a woman told me she was out there sleep, listen, you was a HO. It just got to call it what it is. Accept that, repent from it, teach about it, but that is what it is. It ain't no way to water it down. You was what you was. You is what you is. You don't have to remain what you is if you want to change. And so that's the thing. We have to, anything we got to consume, like anything we going to consume, anything that's going to be out there, don't just waste 3 hours of your life watching an interview and not take something with it that you going to change your life. Because the same way we look at this stuff, your child going to have a story to tell about you. Your sibling going to have a story to tell about you. Every day, your nieces, your nephews going to have a story to tell about you. Every day you writing your story. How you treating people. My sister, I got one blood sister that I know of, and we was raised together. We 2 years apart, and she sometimes make a big deal about how fast I respond to her on text message. And she's shocked by that. It's almost like she see me as a big deal. And I didn't understand that my family didn't just see me as a regular person. I went to my mama's 60th birthday party, and she called me up to the front. She said, "This is my son that y'all be asking me about. Take a picture with him, get his autograph, talk to him." And I was like, what in the world is my mama doing? Like, I didn't realize she see me as a celebrity. And sometimes we don't think about that. And so people expect to be treated a certain way, and they look at us a certain way, and we may talk to them not realizing that they put us on a pedestal, or they see us a certain way. So how we move and how we treat them, how we deal with them, they take it totally different, because they see us as exceptional. They see us as different. They see us as rare. And a lot of times we don't think about that. So to your child, you a celebrity. And my oldest son, he said that to me. He said that to me one time. I was real hard on him. And he said to me, he said, "Dad, the reason why I cry so bad, or the reason why I hurt so bad, is because you said it." He said, "It wouldn't matter to me if another man said it. It wouldn't matter to me if somebody else." He's like, "I don't care what nobody else think, but you my dad." And I thought about that. I said, man, in that moment, I was speaking from a place of like anger and not love. I was speaking from a place of like childhood trauma, and not from a place of a healed adult. And so a lot of times we don't realize when we speaking from a selfish viewpoint, or a traumatized or a hurt standpoint, and we're not taking into consideration that other person's position and being in their position. And I used to throw rocks at the people on the top. I used to throw rocks at the people that was up higher than me on the climb. I throw rocks, and then what I would criticize about them, when I got 1 million followers online, I realized, oh, what they feel. Oh, I was criticizing and judging this person because of this, but now that I got 1 million followers, I see. Then when I got $1 million, when I made $1 million in a year, I was like, oh, I was criticizing and judging this person. So that's when I learned you can't speak on somebody until you done been in their shoes. Like, you really can't judge how somebody handles something until you have the same opportunity and you handle it different. So we really can't speak on Oprah until we're a billionaire and sitting in her position. Like, we truthfully do not know what we will do. I got a homeboy. He used to always tell me, bro, you got to manage your money better. Bro, you got to manage your money. When I get some money, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do it like that. Guess what? He went from making the money he was making to making double. And guess what he found at making double? Still broke. Because the more you get, the more you spend. You live to the level that your income allow you to. You're not finna have $100,000 and go live in the hood. You're gonna get you something that your 100,000 could get you into, because you want the max of what you have earned. You don't even want to live at 90. You want to feel what 100 feel like. But until you got that 100, you can't judge when you got 10. And so that's what I learned, and that's what I have to be mindful of. And so it's like, when I call people out, if I call this man out who, he got $1 million, I got $1 million, he got 1 million followers, I got 1 million followers, he got a wife, I got a wife, he is attractive to women, I'm attractive to women, and then he divorced his wife and she didn't cheat on him, and he go get with a woman who is a millionaire, but his wife was a brokenaire. Now I could speak on him because we in the same position. And my wife, who does not work a job, who don't make money like that, I could leave my wife and go get with me a millionaire. But I'm not doing that. So if we in the same position, we got the same opportunity, we got the same thing, and we both claim to be men of God, but you go and divorce your wife and go marry up financially with a woman with $1 million and a brand with 1 million followers, now I could see why you did that. You did that as a business move, and I'm calling you out. But if I never had his platform, if I never had his money, if I never had his temptation, I'd be wrong to speak on what I would do if I was in his position. I'd be wrong. But one thing about it though, I ain't mad at people telling their truth. You know, everybody got their story to tell. We all got a story to tell. That's some stuff for me, like I can't tell my whole story. Like, I take a lot of stuff to the grave just because, you know, I care more about hurting people. You know, I care more about ruining somebody's image, ruining somebody's legacy by telling a negative story about them, because I understand that they are human. Now, if they force me to tell it, or if they, you know, playing in my face and I have to defend myself, that's something different. But, you know, just telling it to tell it, you know, that's a little different. And so at the same time too, now, what we have to understand about these type of interviews, will Oprah ever go on that show? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt Oprah ever sit with Shannon Sharpe. And if she do, it's a sign of the times. Will Tyler Perry go on there? Maybe. But even that may be a sign of the times. If he got a movie coming out or something, and he want to go on there and clear things up. But then at the end of the day, it's just he said, she said. That's all it is. Just he said, she said. But when somebody tell their side of the story and you understand what they dealing with the budgets of the movie, with the studios, with being the only person in that position to do a film, with all that other kind of stress that come with it, then you may then understand why they was asking Monique to promote the film that she was in as the lead star, without them being able to pay her any more money on top of what they had already agreed to pay her for the role. And when I signed my little TV deal and I did the show, in there it said you are expected to do promo to a reasonable amount, a reasonable extent. Now they never asked me to do nothing, but that just kind of come with the territory. And even with me going on Oprah, I had to sign a thing that said I wouldn't blog about it, I wouldn't post no pictures, I wouldn't talk about it. So technically, even what I said today, telling about my experience, if it was negative, or if Oprah feel like it's negative, she technically could sue me. She technically could sue me if they still got that paperwork from the Oprah Winfrey show from 2009. It just, stuff is a part of it. And so you gotta take this stuff with a grain of salt, and you can't just hang your hat on it. And a lot of times we tell stuff and we do all that stuff not for our dignity. A lot of times we do it out of desperation. A lot of times we do it out of attention seeking, because we go through so much that we overcome and never talk about. So to talk about, what really are we exposing when we expose somebody paid me $50,000 to be in a low budget movie, and then they asked me to go do promotion of it and then want to pay me no more money? Like, what are we talking about? It's not like that ain't worth telling. Like, what's worth telling is if you could say, yeah, Tyler Perry called me in his office and he grabbed my cooter cat. That's worth telling. But he trying to get me to promote this film that could win an Oscar, and I'm telling him I need some money. And instead of me just saying, hey, brother, I'm flat broke right now, can you bless me? I say, no, I ain't doing nothing. I'm not finna be your slave. I'm not finna go do no promotion at the Cannes Film Festival without no extra money. And then him saying this person difficult to work with, that's his perspective. So, and technically, that is being difficult. It just, whether you call it fair or not, it still could be deemed as difficult by the person on the other side. And that's why Stephen R. Covey and whoever his mentor, unless he made that up in his book, he say, seek to understand, then be understood. Now, I ain't taking up for these people because I don't necessarily care one way or the other. But what I'm saying is sometimes we have to be mindful, because we'll take and listen to the side of a story and then we'll write these people off. And we'll just write somebody off, and we heard one side of the story. So it's even, and this is what I try to tell you. People try to say I'm hating. But one of the things I did agree with what Monique said when she was like, how you gonna take advice from a man who ain't got nobody? At the very end when she talking about Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah. And that's why I try to tell y'all, like, I know a lot of these people in the industry, a lot of us just 1-2 degrees separation. So I agree with that she said. And I agree with her telling her side of the story. But I also feel like she throwing rocks at giants, so it makes sense. But what she's not thinking about is, what about the little people that probably feel the same way about her that she feel about Oprah and Tyler Perry? And that's sometimes that we don't think about that right there. And it's gonna be out there. It's gonna be out there. We all at some point that made somebody feel away. And it may not have been our intention. And so that's what we have to try to seek to understand, then be understood. So instead of just kind of putting it out there like this person is ruthless, this person is heartless, this person or whatever, we kind of got to put it and say, okay, let me put myself in this person's shoes of being the person that broke the glass ceiling, being the person that got in first, being the person that they the trailblazer, being the person that what they do and how they do it could affect generations. Let me put that type of pressure on myself and be a producer or a filmmaker, and then see how I would act. And then that's when we kind of get to understand a little better. So I ain't mean for this thing to be this long, but just want to touch on it and pull the lessons from it. Oh, but now when I be saying these single men should not be giving relationship advice, people be saying I'm hating because I'm jealous that they're infringing upon my territory, which is the dumbest thing in the world, because not a single man talking on relationship take $1 out of my pocket. My family still have everything we need and everything we want. I I earn more money now than I earned when I was the only coach. I earn more money now than I earned when it was just me and Steve Harvey. And then me and Steve Harvey and then Rob Hill Sr. It was like me, Steve Harvey, Rob Hill Sr. That was it. I earn 3 times more now than I did with a few of us, but that's the lies people tell. People say, oh, he jealous because this single man doing tours and they get money. That don't slow my situation down. What I care about is because they're not qualified to be giving marital advice. They could give single man sleeping around advice, single man dating advice, single man meaning like their experience, but not how to make a relationship work until they make a relationship work. And so when she said that about Shaq, I said, hey, I agree. Because Shaq but too old to be talking like that. Too old to be spewing that mess. And he's sitting there with Country Wayne. And then I also agree with her telling Shannon Sharpe he need to take his old butt and find somebody to love. 56 years old, sitting up there single as a dollar bill. She told him, she tried to turn it into a joke, but she was being serious. She was like, you too old to be out here single. You need to go get you one of these black women and love that woman and represent that right there. She was trying to tell him. So listen, this is somebody who's not a relationship coach saying the same thing I be saying. So now you know my angle is not to hate. It's to be real. And it's about our representation. So, hey, it's Tony Gasson. God bless you. And, you know, I see y'all, some of y'all DMs and stuff on Instagram when you send me little topics and all of that. And, you know, I honestly don't want to speak about this stuff. Don't care to speak about it. But it's like, if you want my 2 cents on it or what have you, because you respect my voice or you listen to me on here as well as the other stuff you watching, then if I got the time and any desire, then I'll touch on it. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of times I really only care to speak about the things of the Lord. But I get it. You got to live real world. You got to process this stuff. And sometimes you want to just hear a couple other perspectives as you processing it and breaking it down and pulling whatever you can get from it. But God bless you. We'll talk soon.